Howdy, folks. This is Big Sam. Today, we're looking at a very strange and mysterious bayonet. This guy, we don't really know what this is. The story behind this actually goes back to, it was early this year, I think. There was actually a beachcomber in Florida selling this on the interwebs. And this is one of the more fascinating things I've ever seen because I just can't figure out what this is or why it exists. This appears to be some sort of Mosin Nagant bayonet, but we don't know what or why. Now, if we look at the conditions straight off, it does sort of appear that this was found on a beach in Florida. We can see some, minor sea crustaceans here. It's not horribly rusted or anything, just some crustaceans and some other strange looking things on it. Now, why don't we know what this is, though? Well, the first thing is, how do we put this on a rifle? Right? So this goes on the muzzle. So to demonstrate that, I've got a barrel here. Right? So this should go like this. Now, it's fitted perfectly for a Mosin Nagant barrel, so straight off, that's a good sign. It's a little tight, but this has got some junk in it. So I would say the size is correct for a Mosin Nagant barrel. But we see an immediate issue here. What's supposed to happen is it's supposed to slide past the front sight and lock behind it. The way it's supposed to do that, to show you, here is a standard 9130 bayonet. So what happens here is it slides on, and then you basically take this, right, and then you have to get it past this button here. And then this one's not really fitted well, but the idea is that you push this button in using this, you push this forward, then you can twist the front sight onto here, and then that locks the bayonet in place. Well, one of the problems, I'll get that off later, one of the problems with this guy is that there's no slot right here. You can see that. So I don't know how this is supposed to even go on a rifle at all. That's really strange. The other thing is there should be a slot here. A slanted cut slot. See, we have the main shaft here, and then there should be a slot offset from that right here. But we don't see that on here. Now, some bayonets, specifically the ones made by the Austro-Hungarian Empire in World War I, actually do have a straight slot. And the way those worked is they had a big locking ring, and you would slide the gun on, and it would go through the locking ring, and then you'd turn the locking ring. But the issue with that theory for this gun is that there's no provision for any sort of locking ring here. The locking ring should go over here, and there should be a little protrusion coming out, a stop, if you will, a little metal protrusion that'll stop the locking ring from moving. We don't see that on here. Now, to show you, the closest thing I've found so far to this guy is this. Now, this we'll look at another day because he deserves his own video. This is a type of older style Mosin Nagant bayonet, and you can see here this has a locking ring. And that little protrusion I was talking about is right here, this stop, because see, it hits it right here, and the idea is to prevent it from moving any further. So there's nothing like that on this guy. So that's another problem, that we don't know how this was intended to be used. definitely didn't have a plunger because for the 9130 style, right, it has a plunger right here and this little pin that goes through this retaining pin. If we look on this guy, we don't see anything like that. There's no holes. There's not anything right here. So that's really strange. Also, typically on a 9130 bayonet, it has a screwdriver tip. We can see here. If we look at our mystery bayonet from Florida Man, we can see this is very pointed, and it's actually rather sharp. I could definitely poke my finger on this, so I got to be careful. Very strange. So this type, this pattern, especially because it doesn't have a provision for that plunger, appears to be more World War I style Mosin Nagant. But again, it's problematic because we don't have provisions for this locking ring here. Now this one actually is interesting because it does have it's closer to being a pointy tip. This one's pretty dull. I think it pointed at one point. It's definitely not a screwdriver. I mean, if we look at these side by side, I mean, we can see these guys are actually kind of similar looking. Now, I started looking through bayonet documentation in books, and the closest thing I found to something like this is actually referred to as a goat bayonet. And apparently they were made probably by like regimental blacksmiths or something, really crude style bayonets. And they were found in some weird village in Eastern Europe, and people were using them as like stakes in the ground to tie up goats with or something like that. Now, if that's what this is, I don't know how this made it onto a beach in Florida. And that would be pretty strange. Now, that goat bayonet I saw also there's no cut in this first section here, just like this, which still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how you would ever slide this on the rifle. I mean, you could slide it on a little bit, but what's going to hold it on there? I don't really know. Maybe a locking ring, but again, there's really no... I don't know how they would have put a locking ring on here. It's possible there was one and came off, but again, we should see this little poke here. So, it's a possible theory and it's a mystery. But somehow, this very strange thing made it onto a beach in Florida. Now, the next question we can ask ourselves is, well, you know, is this maybe something like a movie prop? Well, the construction's very intentional. The interesting thing here, if we look at this was pointed. A movie prop would probably not have a very nicely made functional blade like this, right? It'd just be for looks. This appears to actually be made pretty well and almost potentially functional, almost. A movie prop probably wouldn't be quite like this. I also don't know why a movie prop for a Mosin Nagant bayonet would be on a beach in Florida. I also don't know why any bayonet would be on a beach in Florida, for that matter. So, this one's a little bit of a mystery. I think we may have to revisit this at some point. If you guys think you know or have an idea, any idea, I don't care if it's aliens or anything like that. Whatever you think this bayonet is, or the reason that this potentially made it on a beach in Florida somewhere, post down in the comments, because I'd love to see your guys' thoughts on this one. So thanks for watching, guys. I thought this would be something kind of different and interesting to take a look at. You never know what's going to come up next on this channel, so if you like any sort of strange Mosin Nagant content, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Let me know what y'all would like to see next. Let me know if y'all have any prayer requests. And I'll see you next time.